What's up, Comic-Con? How y'all doing? Now, who out here is a fan of George R.R. Martin? There's not that many fans here, really? Let's try that again. Who's a fan of George R.R. Martin? All right, that's better. They can stay. I don't know what y'all doing. Now, you've heard of Nightflyers, right? Well, I've got 3 of the stars up here with us. Eoin Macken, Gretchen Mol, and David Ajala. Let's welcome them, folks. Now, for those of you who don't know, and if you don't know, I don't know why you're over here, but for those of you who don't know, Nightflyers is a new series coming to Sci-Fi, which is a horror series. And it's based on the George R.R. Martin book, and it's about a ship of scientists in space, in the future, searching for basically a alien race and another planet to live on, and then death happens, basically. So I want each of you to introduce each of your characters to everyone.
Mic
yes.
check 1, 2.
It's
Sounds
on.
good.
You got it. You got
I like
it.
the tone. I like the tone. I like the sound.
There you go. There you go.
Hi guys, my name is David Ajala, and I play Captain Roy Eris.
Oh, that's all he's doing. That's all he's doing. Gretchen, you're next.
That's it? That's all you're going to say?
Oh,
or Roy?
Yeah, I'll tell you a bit more about my character a little later.
I'm Gretchen Mol, and I play Dr. Agatha Matheson.
And I'm Eoin Macken, and I play Professor Karl D'Branin.
Now, what David neglected to tell you is that the captain has some interesting qualities.
Yes, he is a hologram. So when you first are introduced to Captain Roy Eris in episode 1, you'll see him as a hologram. This is how he chooses to interact with his crew. He's somewhat of an isolated, insular man, but throughout the series, we'll understand some of his secrets and the decisions as to why he chooses to be so secretive.
And Gretchen, you're a doctor of what? Your character?
So I'm really a therapist, and in charge of L1 telepaths.
Now, there's something really interesting in this universe. People are petrified of telepaths.
Yes.
Why?
On Earth, there is this sort of breed of human being, and they're telepathic, and they've been sort of ostracized from society. And you think that they can perhaps be useful in outer space in communicating with this alien life.
I mean, it's actually really difficult to kind of give away too much information on the show because so much happens within it, but essentially, yeah, the telepaths, Karl D'Branin believes that the telepaths may be able to communicate with the Vulcan, which are the aliens, because the telepaths have this ability, obviously, as telepaths, whereby... And everyone on Earth is afraid of them because they can kill you, they can do various things, and Agatha Matheson and Karl D'Branin used to have a relationship, and he ends up bringing Agatha with him to try and sort of mediate or control the telepath. But Karl doesn't trust telepaths and kind of hates them. But you end up bringing this kind of being onto a spaceship out to space where everything's already messed up anyway, so it's, you know, it's not very smart.
Right.
Right,
so
like,
everyone ends up not trusting each other and being worried that the telepath is causing all the problems that begin on the spaceship from the moment we launch, really, so.
So in this world, every telepath is Dark Phoenix. They all can make your head explode. So what is it about this show that drew you? Did you all read the book before you?
No, I mean, so when my team got when the producers of Nightflyers got in contact with my team, they recommended that I read the novella. It was just over 100 pages. I remember just reading the whole thing in like a day. And I really loved the mystique, the thrill, and how descriptive George R.R. Martin is with his language. And I was interested to see how that would convert into a TV series. Our amazing showrunner, Jeff Bueller, managed to, you know, use many strands of the original novella, but then also just create and invent some really, really cool, exciting stuff, and hopefully it'll play out really good in the show. So I said yes to it because of the guys who were involved.
I've read most of Asimov's books or Philip H. Dick's books and a lot of sci-fi, but I didn't actually know that George R. R. Martin had actually written a sci-fi novel like this. So I read it after reading the script. And what Jeff has done with the scripts and compared to the novellas, he's kind of really expanded the world in an incredibly creative way that kind of George has given him the freedom to do. And so once you read it, you're kind of immediately, every single page, you have no idea what the hell is about to happen. And so when you start reading something like that, you immediately want to do it because it just keeps going, and it gets more and more intense. And it's just chaos. So you're like, yeah.
And what was your reason for signing on?
Well, I read the pilot script, which I thought, really it was like within the first 8 pages of the pilot, you're sort of, there's a shock that happens, and I also was excited because it had to do with my character. And I was sort of blown away by those first 8 pages, and I was super excited. You know, something happens to the character, and then, you know, you're sort of wondering how is the rest of this 10 episodes going to play out? And also Mike Cahill, who has done these great films like I Origins, you know, he was directing the pilot, and that was a real draw for me. And also just hearing what Jeff Bueller wanted to do to sort of expand this 100-page novella, I was just excited to. It was obviously going to have a lot to do with who the characters were and who the actors were playing the characters, and everyone that came on was very interesting and exciting, and so it was just a great crew of people to be working with.
Well, everyone's amazing, and it's interesting because when I saw the first episode, I really thought, I didn't get horror. It is, trust me, there's horror, but it's really a thriller. And I think that type of slow build is something that George R.R. Martin is very good at. And the sets looked amazing. So was it a lot of green screen and a lot of...
I mean, we had very little green screen. They basically built all the sets in entirety. The spaceship sets they had...
So when you're running down those halls, you're really running down those halls.
I mean, the spaceship was probably almost as big as this entire room, like this entire hall. They just kept going and going and going. The spaceship was huge.
Massive.
So it meant it's a very physically visceral show, and it's very claustrophobic and suffocating. But because all the sets are real, you're kind of engaged, and it's got this sort of organic spaceship sort of feel to it, which is what you want from a sci-fi show. Green screen, for me, it would have taken away, removed you from the texture of it.
So I'm going to dig in a little bit. Why are you on this ship? What's wrong with Earth?
That's what I kept wondering. Can we go back?
Why are we here, and why do people have to die? Why?
I mean,
you just went all philosophical on us. It's too early in the afternoon for that.
I mean, it all starts with Karl D'Branin. It starts with.
Oh, you're going to blame me now? Thanks.
Yes, it's your fault. Everybody dies because of you. That's not a spoiler.
It's all Karl D'Branin. You know,
hey,
he's a world-renowned scientist who has ideas, and here he is in a position where it's out of necessity that he has to jump on board the Nightfly ship.
There's also very specific personal reasons why Karl D'Branin wants to find these aliens, because they can bend space and time, he believes. If you can do that, you can change an awful lot of things.
That's right.
So he's got his own personal rationale for going out there, but, you know, he discovers that there's aliens, so we should obviously go after them.
Earth really has become uninhabitable.
Yeah.
It's 75 years from now, and it doesn't feel like, if we're on the trajectory that we are on even now, as far as how we're taking care of the environment, things are happening, and really it's becoming impossible to live on Earth. So we
it's
have
also
to sort of
like
figure out another
you might be
option.
able to find another planet to terraform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. But it's
To
still your fault.
destroy.
Sure, I'll take the blame for it, it's fine. But then that means if anything goes wrong, it's their fault because they didn't step up to the plate, right?
Now, I know we can't get into why your character's so elusive, but the hologram, how does he control the ship as an image?
So Roy Eris is connected to the technology of the ship. So because it's ingrained in his system, he can control it because he's connected to it. When he is not making the decisions and controlling the ship, his right-hand man, Augie, is the guy who takes over and who controls things. But bit by bit, I assure you, throughout the season, you will have answers to many unanswered questions, especially concerning Captain Roy Eris.
He's not going to give it to us. I want him to say exactly what happens, and he won't give it to us.
I came prepared.
Yeah.
I ain't spoiling nothing. You should have seen my brief of do not talk about this, do not talk about that. I'm ready for anything.
Oh, my goodness. What I will say is, when, not if, when you guys go to the Hammerstein later to watch episode 1, you're gonna see what, when I first saw it, I literally was like, did they send me the middle of the season? Because remember, Gretchen, I was like, how are we gonna get out of this?
Yeah.
But they really, he starts in the middle of the story. That's all I'll be able to tell you. Now, the interesting thing also about this world is this ship, you guys are not, you're scientists in your own right, but you're not astronauts. You're not space explorers. So it sounds like there's some mistakes maybe that people can make because this is not the Starship Enterprise.
Well, you can just blame Jodie, you know, you can blame Jodie for that, right? because Jodie plays Mel and she plays a sort of genetically modified woman who's kind of built for space travel. So she's meant to protect us and look after us. We're, you know, we're just scientists just trying to, you know, do our science thing.
So we're blaming people who aren't even here.
Oh, you went low.
That's
You went
nice.
low, Karl D'Branin.
His Instagram is gonna blow up later. So, do you think, now that you've done season 1, do you think you're gonna get a season 2? Come on.
I mean,
it kind of depends on where they push. I mean, the world is the world that's already been created by George anyway exists, and like the way he creates facets of worlds, they can expand in so many directions. And what Jeff has done with the characters is allow that to happen. So this story could go anywhere in like a good way. So I have no fucking idea.
With the novella, it's only 100 pages. Do we get to the end of the novella by the end of season 1?
Can't tell you that.
Oh my God. They're
No,
killing
but
me.
I think the idea is it is science fiction, so we have there's tons of possibilities. It's
Completely.
just all within the creator's imagination, really, and what we're willing to do.
Yes.
We had to be willing to do many things.
Oh boy. Oh boy, this is
Oh, Gretchen,
there.
you got to talk about this.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
All right.
what did they make this do?
All
Are
kind of
you
words.
okay?
But I've recovered.
This is the
slowly.
safe
Good,
space.
good.
Are you okay?
Is it a safe space?
It is. Are you okay? No, what was the hardest scene, without giving the plot away, what was one of the hardest things you had to shoot? All 3 of you.
I mean, for me personally, I found it a bit tricky and technical shooting some of the scenes.
Because you were see-through.
Yeah, because it's like, David, there you are, you're hologram, you're having this conversation. Step to the right so we can do the visual effect.
Hey, hold on a second. It's really hard acting with a hologram, dude. It's hard acting with a hologram.
Dude,
every scene we use is difficult.
You had me in the
Everything's so
flesh.
complicated.
I was gonna go method for these guys, you know, and just, you
How
know,
exactly do you play invisible?
Like,
or how
you
exactly
just-
do you play translucent?
like you don't show up on set and you do all your lines in your apartment, on your bed, you have a phone that's connected to the set, and you literally say your lines so that the actors can hear your lines. I was gonna go super method, but then I don't think that would have gone down.
There was that time you were hiding behind the wall, right? And just
Okay,
like
yeah,
your
we
lines
did do
going-
that.
But then they said they were going to change your rate, and you were right there on set.
I would have been, hey, so when do you need me on set? I'm in the car heading down now. No,
You'd
the
have a scene
holographics.
with David, and he just wouldn't show up for it.
Yeah, it's
And
bad.
he'd be asking someone else to say his lines.
For the first episode, then after that, I thought, you know, the least I can do is just be there for my actors. So
Really
I
difficult.
decided.
Now, even though
Turn up
Jodie
on
isn't
set.
here, I know she had a lot of physical, you know, things. Were any of those scenes difficult? Like some of the physical action? Gretchen, you had a lot.
Yeah, you mean you did a lot of that stuff,
you did.
right? A lot of the kind of
Wire work
the
stuff.
zero
Gretchen,
gravity
you had a
stuff.
fight. Come on.
Oh, I did have some fun zero gravity, but I enjoyed it all because I'm not used to working in genre. So for me, it was horror and all of the things that you have to do to sort of create this suspension of disbelief. I actually really enjoyed it. Like I loved screaming. I've never gotten to scream so much.
You're a very good screamer,
And,
by the way. I told you that.
Discovered that I was good at it, and you know, I mean, I've been doing this for a while, and
The screaming.
screaming is very cathartic, and so
Y'all know we're holding this clip for Twitter, right?
I enjoyed that. But yeah, the zero gravity work and some of the you'll see today in the pilot in one of the scenes. It's you know how we. I may as well not say anything about it. You'll just see it.
But
But it is very physical.
It's
very
physical.
But it's not even the physicality about this show. It's kind of more that, especially when you get into like episode 5, and it really starts to spiral. The psychological aspect, yeah, it's incredibly emotional and pretty intense. So when you add all the kind of physicality to the fact that the show just doesn't let up, you end up being exhausted from that because it just keeps going. And that all sounds, you know, oh, cool, you're all sad and upset and all that stuff, but it genuinely just doesn't stop. And that's what's exhausting about it, because there's no let up in terms of what's happening to these characters at all.
And there's been a lot of comparisons to Event Horizon for obvious reasons, but this is not Event Horizon.
No, it's better than Event Horizon. And I love Event Horizon, by the way, and I love Paul. So Paul Anderson won't mind me saying that, but Event Horizon is awesome.
You just said it. Oh my God.
He's going to forgive me.
Do you think it's because of the scripting of the storyline, or because we get a chance to see what each of these characters goes through?
Yeah, I mean, when we're comparing Event Horizon, which is a movie, to a TV series, 2 hours compared to 10 hours, we're able to make a lot more artistic decisions which are going to elevate the material. You get to see these characters unfold literally over 10 episodes. You get to see when their backs are against the wall, where they're between a rock and a hard place, and they have to make life-changing decisions, you know? And I think the joy and the pain is going along this journey with these characters and caring for them, and then having your heart broken because of what they have to endure.
Well, that's true, because that's something that George Martin has always done, is he's always created characters that you really care about and you become invested in. And Jeff has kind of also done that. So you have these characters that you really connect to and root for. So when all this fucked up shit happens to them, it affects you, you know? I'm looking for a non-spoilery question.
Do you think it's really about... I think the horror is in this show is misdirection. What do you think? Is it misdirection, or is the ship really attacking them?
I'm not. I think the thing that's scary to me about it, the horror part of it to me, is about pushing the boundaries, seeing how far we can go, like as a human race, and sort of the further that we go out, and the closer that we get to the Vulcan or to the alien life, the more magnified all of these traits that we all have, all of our sort of human flaws, just become more and more magnified, which I think is the nightmare. That's kind of the nightmare of the show. So you're stuck on this ship with the 8 scientists who aren't really superhuman, save for Melantha, and so we're trapped together with all of our kind of neuroses and everything just ratcheted up to 100% as we get closer and closer.
And the aliens are coming to get you as well. And the aliens are coming to get you as well.
Are they, though? Oh, no, I don't know.
Yeah. So it's also like some of the horror is being stuck on the ship with these people you can't get away from.
Yeah, I mean, there's many levels of horror. There's the psychological horror. There's the immediate horror of something physically trying to attack you. And I'm sure there's other various different degrees of horror. But it becomes more intensified when you're on a ship, you're stuck together, breathing the same air, and you can't escape it, you know, and that definitely heightens the horror. And the closer we get to potentially making contact with this celestial being, the more intense the experience is, and the more the horror is amped up.
What is one thing you want viewers to take away from this first season?
You kind of just want them to kind of get... The show sucks you in a way where it really affects you in your core, because it is so terrifying, but it's also so visceral, but also poses some philosophical questions which are, I think, important for any kind of science fiction show, in terms of how far you would actually go to either, you know, save humanity or save yourself, and what becomes more important. So anything related to the individual becomes a bigger question as to why you would do certain things. And I think every science fiction show needs to kind of pose those questions that you can't pose in normal real life, because it expands upon what all our fears are and how we kind of question the very nature of being, and what we will do for each other and for yourselves. And so that's what kind of gets pushed. And I think that's, beyond all the horror and the thriller aspects of it, there are some of the most important questions that come out of the show as well.
That was quite deep.
Thanks.
I agree with that. That was very well said, bro.
You sound surprised.
No, it was because it just reminded me, because as much as we've spoken about the horror and the psychological horrors of things, you know, these are real people going through very real things, you know? And yeah, it was good to hear that. It just reminded me that this show is grounded in reality because of the characters. You know, so in spite of us being in space, hopefully these will be characters and people that you care about and can relate to. And also, it must be said, there is levity in this TV series. You know, there's jokes, there's banter, there are a lot of funny moments.
There's just not translucent people in death.
There's no jokes and banter in this TV show. Everybody dies.
Filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Everybody dies. No, that's another George R.R. Martin show. Gretchen, you had said that you had done very little genre before this. So what did you pull from for your character?
Well, what it ultimately comes down to, and it was great because we had a director and all of the producers kept using the word that you just used, which was grounded. And just when we started right away working on the pilot, Mike, as much as I was kind of blown away by the sets and the world that had been created, and you know, being able to do the launch and actually see the planet Earth disappear, you know, all of that was, all the sci-fi elements were really exciting to me. But you ground it, and that's your job as the actor, is to sort of ground it into a real person, and everybody, these are all real people, and we're all just trying to do something for the better good. You know, everybody here, as far as the characters, really all have the best intentions as far as trying to sort of save the world.
Do they have the best intentions, though? I mean, do you?
Because
I mean, I'm gonna question you on that one. No, I think what you're saying is correct about all the characters being grounded, but we're also still chasing after space aliens.
Well, that's also the interesting thing, is what happens when it's threatened. Okay, you think you're in it for the right reasons, and all of these things. You know, the mirror in this environment, the mirror is sort of, you know, held up to us all, and
that's right.
You know,
that's very well put.
It was very well put.
Okay, all the tough questions are over. We're gonna play a game. Look at Owen's face. He was like, y'all didn't tell me I was playing a game. This is simple. I made it up. No, I lied. They did. It's basically an either-or game. It's testing a little bit of genre knowledge, but don't worry, Gretchen, you can do it. And I'm gonna ask you either this or that, and you have to tell me which one you like, okay?
Okay, ready.
All right, starting with you, David. HAL 9000 or R2-D2?
R2-D2.
He's looking at me like, who is Hal? I'm not gonna.
Did I get it?
I might have gone.
It's not a right or wrong.
All right.
It's whatever you want.
That was definitely a right or wrong, Dave.
Gretchen, J.R.R. Tolkien or George R.R. Martin?
George R.R. Martin.
This one's for you, Owen. Jameson or Bushmills?
Oh, that's Jameson. Come on. Yeah, that was an easy one.
All right, two more. Nighttime or daytime?
Nighttime. Nighttime's sexy.
See, David, you do this to me every time. I'm gonna need you to stop. Gretchen, strawberry or banana?
Strawberries. They're sexy.
There you go, Gretchen. There you go. She's learning.
Did I do it to you?
Yeah. Oh, this one I'm making this one up. This is for Owen. David or Jody?
Oh, I'm gonna take both of them because that's sexy together.
Nice. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And you gotta go to the Hammer scene later, okay?
Thanks.
And stay seated, because up next, we're interviewing the voice cast of Batman, the animated series.
I'm Jackie Jennings with SYFY WIRE. If you can't get enough of New York Comic Con, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel for news, interviews, cosplay, and so much more. What are you waiting for?